She's here to send or give us her message of hope. Once again, it's going to be question and answer format, so she'll tell us a little bit about herself, and then it's going to be really driven by you guys and your questions for her. She has a lot of wonderful stories to tell about her story of survival and hope, and that's really what we want to take out of this. It's funny, one of the things that I forgot to mention is, just the day before Thanksgiving, what more fitting a message than today? I mean, tomorrow if the turkey's a little undercooked, how can any of us complain after what we hear today? With that said, Miss Eva looks Braun.
My name is Eva Braun, and as you know, I'm a survivor. That's why I am here. And I always request you should read Elie Wiesel's Night, because my life is parallel to that. So you are coming and you have some questions, and it's easier than I go the whole story of my life. I think you get more if you are, I know what you are interested, and I try to answer your question. I was 16 and a half years old, a family, we were 3 girls at home, and we were taken to the camps. And you know the story, what happened to us. So please go ahead and ask some questions.
Anybody have any questions? My class had a lot of questions because we were working on it. One in the back?
Yes.
How did you feel when you met, I can't remember her name, the woman that you looked at as a sister? How did you feel to have someone?
Stand up and you have a nice loud voice.
How did I feel when I met who?
How did you feel when you met the woman you consider your sister? Like, how did you feel to have someone?
Oh, I know what she wanted. Okay, I changed something. That is safety in numbers, So she was alone and I was with my sister. And she came to us and asked, could I be your sister? And I looked her up. She was looking really like me, blonde, blue-eyed, my age. She's a little younger she's a year younger than I am. And I took care of her because I was the oldest at 16 and a half. I was the oldest. And we became friends. So yes, and we still are in touch today. She lives in Queens. I have to tell you that we are after liberation, when I came to America, and just so happens we lived on a street, she lived opposite us. I come out the street, and one day I see her. She was, when I last saw her, she was very skinny. When I met her, she was quite hefty. And wait a second, Miriam, we hugged and kissed. And it's a small world. From all the places, she was living across me. Yes.
Seems like a boring group thing as well. The first group is very lively. I don't know if
Yes,
you've seen
yes. They read the book?
Well, I'm hoping, some of them are my students, I'm hoping, and most of them should have read it as sophomores, because that's one of the books we do as a core text here at New York.
Okay, so you can make up your own questions about the Holocaust, what interests you.
Well, when they first started to come into the village that you lived, how was
I lived
it,
in a city.
in the city that you lived, how was it as far as, were you prepared? Did you sort of have an idea that this was about going to happen to you?
Okay, so we had absolutely no idea where we are going to go, but gradually, from 1938, when the city that I was, and that was Slovakia, and became Hungary, and then became the Nuremberg laws, you know about the Nuremberg laws, yes, they came into effect, and gradually we were restricted, going to libraries, going to swim club, going to do exercises. There are gradually many restrictions. And my mother always used to say, as long as we are together, the family stay together, we can tolerate many things. And that's so I'm saying now, that just cherish your family while you have it. It's very important, because that gives you security. Being together with the family gives you a sense of security.
Did they force you to wear those yellow stars?
Yes, so then came, that didn't come right away. Slowly, as I said, I was going to school, and was sitting in the first row, so we had to sit segregated in the last row. I was in high school, and as I said, gradually we had many, many restrictions. And then came when the Hungarians came in, so we had to wait the yellow stars. When we went to the stores, there were just certain hours when we can go shopping. By the time, anyway, we had already rations, because the war was raging. So we were very few, but whatever was left, we just had to get whatever was left at that time. After there was curfew, we couldn't go in the street at night. We couldn't be together with Christian Gentiles. So slowly but surely, they made sure that our lives were very, very hard. And I tell you, like, when the air raids came, right? So I lived in a very elegant building. It was like twin buildings, and there was a shelter in this and that, they're both buildings. So there was a Jewish shelter and the Christian shelter. That was very unique, because our so-called friends that were friends before, all of a sudden we were stinking Jews, okay? And we just couldn't be together in the shelter, and that's why I have the book that says, I was and I am a proud Jew, okay? And I'm not a stinking Jew. You can call me anything you want. I am proud. I'm proud to be Jewish.
It's my day I get to be a spokesmodel. It's always a dream of mine, but I'm not very good looking, so it's the closest I'll ever get. But thank you.
Yes,
Were you separated from your families in the camp?
yes, sure. When we arrived, you know, the train ride, it was 3 nights, 3 days, you know, suffocating, no water, nothing to refuse. People died in the trains, you know about the train rides. And then finally we saw some light coming out, and they opened the doors, and we had to schnell jump out from the trains, from the wagons. It was no train, we were sitting on the floor, squashed together. And there were a lot of Germans there, and we didn't know what's happening now. And screaming, yelling, Germans with dogs. And they separated us, men on the right, women on the left. And that was the last time I saw my father. Never saw him again. And then again was a selection, women, able-bodied women. They said, able-bodied women to the right, women with children to the left, and at night we will be reunited. And by the way, we had little luggage, and they said, just put down the luggage, we will know, and at night you will find it on your beds. The first lies, obviously. And this took my mother, was a young woman, 44 years old, but my little sister, 12 years, or not even 12 years, she was hanging on to her, so she went with my mother. Never saw her again. And my mother, just when I was going with my middle sister, she was yelling, promise, promise, be careful and watch your sister. And that promise made me want to live, because I promised to my mother. So I'm saying, when you promise something, keep the promise. It's a meaningful word, it really is. Because I think that made me want to survive, because I promised to my mother.
And this is a children's book based on that promise.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear, what was the promise?
My mother was yelling, promise, watch your sister, my younger sister, my middle
So
sister.
your sister was with you,
She was with me the whole time, yes.
and your mother was separated from
Mother
you.
is the younger sister, yes. They went right away to the gas chamber, and I have to tell you here, when we arrived to Auschwitz-Birkenau, I was in Birkenau. Auschwitz was the first lager, the political lager. I was in Birkenau. And that was Jewish and gypsy camp, but mostly Jewish people, Jewish girls, we were girls. And when we were walking to the camps, in the camps, we saw this flame, there's something, and a terrible, terrible smell. And I asked the capo, you know what is a capo? He was also an inmate with a striped uniform. He was guiding us going in, and I asked him, what is this? And he said, your parents are burning there now. And I I said, what are you saying? And he said, forget everything you had before, concentrate on living. And I have to tell you, that was the best advice he said. I could not forget, obviously, but I had to concentrate on surviving. And I said to myself, why aren't you lying? Why are you telling me right the first minute I came that they are burning my parents? Just, that's if I don't know. And I survived. I knew that I had no choice, I had to survive. It was the will to survive.
What kind of work did you do there?
I did all kinds of work, okay? One work was a good work, so to speak. We were working inside, like in a room, and we were braiding leftover like material, we were braiding it, and then later we were told that it was something to ignite something. But I tell you, when they taught us to work, nobody told us what, do it, and do the quota, do a certain amount you had to do, and we had to do it. That's all. So that was good because it was inside. It was inside. And then I was working in a quarry. That was the worst work ever, because we were carrying huge stones from here to there for no reason whatsoever, just because it was punishment. And they called it sport. Very good sport. Huge, huge stones. And it broke my back. And that's why I'm carrying this, because my back is in very bad shape, thanks to that sport work.
How did being in the camp impact your life afterwards?
What?
How did being in the camps impact your life afterwards?
You know something, I'm always saying my past is my present. Obviously I'm different because I'm a survivor. You know, when we came after liberation and we came home and we said something, we did look different. We had no proper clothing yet, we didn't know the language, and we said something and they always said, what do you want? She's a survivor. Like, we are different species, you know. It impacted me, I'm different, I'm looking at things differently. I have different values. I don't wish it on anybody, but my values are different. There are many meaningless things that other people would say, oh, whatever. No, I know what values, and the most I value my family.
You also talked last period about food. I think that's
Food,
something
yes.
they should hear too.
Yes, okay. So food had a great effect on us because we were in camps, we were starving, obviously. And until today, food is something very important to me. Obviously, I'm not eating too much, I'm not so heavy. But food is God-given. And I am very careful not to throw out things. I am not eating rotten food or spoiled food. But I tried to be very careful with food, all of us. And I tell you something that I didn't say before. If you come to me, I have a supermarket. You name it, I have it. Just in case I will run out. So I have everything, yes. That's a specialty of us survivors. I don't have to go to the next door neighbor to ask a cup of sugar. I have everything. Yes.
Like in the book, Eli, Knight,
Yeah.
did you have somebody to tell you that this was going to happen?
No, I have to tell you. We knew that things are bad, but nobody ever thought that we are going to go to camp and there is gas chamber and they are burning people. No. You know something, I was brought up, we spoke German at home, I'm not from Germany, but my father did business in Germany, everything by us was conducted because the Germans are very cultured people. That's what we thought. So we said, okay, we're going to go and work, but not that my parents and 6 million Jews will be killed. No, that was not foreseen, not at all.
Where did you think that you were going when you had they were taking you?
Where did they take us?
Where did you think you were going to go?
I tell you something, when we were on it first, we had to leave our apartments, that was in 44. We had to go, ghettos were established, and we were in the ghettos for a few weeks. but we were still together. And then one day they said everybody had to assemble. They were groups, first transport, second transport. And we went to the train station, and we are going, they didn't say where we are going. We are going to work for the German Reich, for the German government, because for the war effort. And then we were in the wagons, and it was closed within, there was a little bitty opening, and somebody stepped on somebody's shoulder, and he said, oh my God, we are crossing the border. And that they know it's a bad sign, but still we didn't know. We knew that we are leaving Slovakia or Hungary or whatever it was that time. But because he said so, he saw it. Because you know, from that title and the train station, we saw different language, right? But we didn't know that we are going to camps until we arrived, yes.
Were you able to compose these pieces of writing when you were in the stages where you were taking, or you were able to write them after?
Were you able to write down things in the camp so that you...
No, darling. We had no paper, we had no pencil, we had no nothing. We had to memorize. No. You know what is nothing? Nothing. In camp we had the clothing, but no underwear, shoes that were then broken, you know, and we had to we tore a little bit off from the dress to tie together, which were severely punished because we were destroying German property, but the shoes were falling off. And then sometimes we got like the clocks, the wooden clocks, I tell you, when we went to the camps. We knew that we are going to work, so we were prepared, very sturdy clothing and good shoes, and I had beautiful shoes. And somebody in camp already said to me, dirty the shoes because they will be stolen. And they were stolen, they were nice. I have to tell you, shoes were the most important thing because we were walking a lot. And our feet were bloody and pussy. And when you had no shoes, you were just as good as dead because you were working on the stones or mud, or you know. So shoes were a very, very important property. Yes. I cannot hear a word.
Did you ever skate in the
No. I am observant. I was observant, and I believe in God. Because it was not God that did it, it was man in humanity to man. We all have the ability to good and do bad. So people choose to do bad. And you know something, many times first of all, Hitler hated Jews, okay? But it was not the only reason. He wanted property. Germany was in a very bad economy at that time. And he knew that when he confiscates the property, he will give it to somebody, and you get something for nothing, you'll be happy. I have to tell you, in Austria, okay, in 38, in 38 and 50 years later, there were signs everywhere, we are 50 years in business. You know why? Because they confiscated the stores. It was not there 50 years before. They took, you know, they were like Aryans. They made Aryan is the pure Gentile. So if you had Jewish stores to begin, that you had to bring in a Gentile and made the store Aryan. Okay? And that's what it was. I saw now a very interesting movie, a French movie on television. One Day You Believe, that's the title. And what was the title? What was the movie? I don't know if you heard about Klaus Barbie. He was in France, and he was also one of those that was instrumental in killing Jews. Okay, so this guy, because of the trial of Klaus Barbie, he's looking at things at home papers, and lo and behold, what he finds, that his father became Aryan. That was the pure Gentile. He was Jewish. And he found out that way that they had to do these papers. Many people converted, but it didn't help them any. I was in Auschwitz, and there were these women that became Gentiles. But if you had 3 Jewish grandparents, you were Jewish. And they were in Auschwitz and said, yeah, but I am Gentile, goody goody, but you are here in Auschwitz, okay? Didn't help you any, yes.
Did you ever try to escape?
No. No, I tell you why. Because from Auschwitz that was impossible to escape. And when we were on a death march, then we were hoping already that the war is near, but when we left Auschwitz, before we left, they had yet the German, the Wehrmittel, they put big yellow stripes on our dress in the back. We had nothing. You know what is nothing? Nothing. We look emaciated. Everybody saw that who we are. So how would I survive? We were called just like that. And at that time, when we were already dead at March, and that possible, it crossed our minds, oh, maybe we should escape. But we had better chance to survive being yet together.
In night, I think this part where the army comes to the camp to like rescue the people, and then the German moves all the people to another place, right? And then the people that stayed back, they were freed. So did you get to make a decision about that?
About what?
That you were on the march. He was
Yes.
talking about that you were forced to march from one
Yes,
camp
yes.
and go away to another one.
Yes, so that's what I just said. I couldn't do anything. I had to do what we were told. Look, we were young women, okay, girls, with nothing. You know what is nothing? No clothing, no nothing. Like she said, if I have paper, and no, we had nothing. How could I do anything? Nothing. And it was winter. You know, we ate from the puddles, snow. We took the snow and ate it. Because on that much we had no food even. So we ate the snow. And then a little later on, there was like little flowers already blooming. So we ate the flower. Here and there we saw a little something. Yeah.
How long were you in the camps?
In the camps, 10 and a half months.
And during that time, were you getting any feedback as to how the war was going?
Well, I tell you, we, as I said again, we were young girls, nothing. Bottom of the totem pole, okay? But there were some higher uppers, and they were somehow had some information for POWs, and they gave us some information, okay? We know like when they tried to kill Hitler, we know it didn't happen. We knew something, and it gave us hope that there is some resistance somewhere, okay? But not to us, we just something. And then there were many stories that were not true, you know, made up stories, okay? But it was also good to listen, something gave us hope.
When you're speaking about movies, I'm sure you're familiar with Schindler's List. And you've seen the movie, I'm sure. How, do you feel that's
The best movie that could be, and I tell you why. Just so happens when Schindler's List, I speak German, I was invited to Germany just after Schindler's List came out, okay? Everybody saw Schindler's List. And Schindler's List is a movie that you could see one facet of it. It's not Auschwitz, it's a work camp. It's a work camp, it's palatable, you know? You see movies about Auschwitz that many people say, I cannot see it, you know? They ask me, how could you see it? I am always going to see these movies and always reading this book. My husband is, why are you doing it to yourself? Because I'm thinking maybe I will find out something, and I tell you one thing that I'm saying. There is no rhyme or reason besides that we are Jewish, okay? That's why they killed us. Because if you can justify it, there is a reason, then you can justify it, and then it's okay. It's not okay. And look, it's 70 years that it happened. There isn't a day, today in the New York Times, I read already, there's coming an opera, they did it, I don't know, in the early 50s. They're bringing it now here also, about the camps, about this. Because people cannot understand how could intelligent people systematically, organized killing people. It can, I don't understand when somebody for the fun kills somebody. That's another story. And I tell you something, when I was in Germany, I was taken to, out of Berlin is the Wannsee, where the Wannsee conference was in 42 in January, where they decided that they will kill the Jews. Hitler put the order, come in, and you know, it's a room, maybe this size. There are pictures of the people, doctors, lawyers, businessmen, nice-looking people, that they were invited to make the final solution. You know, that's the name, the final solution. And they look like you and me and everybody else. You know, there is the book, the banality of evil, and that's what it is. We all are capable of doing, God forbid, whatever could do that. That's why I'm saying we should do good, because the same effort that you are doing the bad, you could do good. So you see these educated people, and they are decided, and then there is the table, glass, and then underneath is an invitation. After we finish this final solution business, there would be kolache, and we will have drinks and something to eat. You know, when I saw that, I said to my guides, thank you. She says, it's not finished. I said, I am finished. I am finished. I don't want to see anything anymore. Okay? Because after you finish how to kill people, you can have drinks. Hallelujah. Look what we have. So I hope you learn something from what I have done, little things that is not maybe in history books. Yes?
What happened on that day when you knew that you were saved and it was all over?
Liberation Day. What was it like the day of the Liberation
I'll
Day?
tell you, when we arrived to the camp, and I will tell you something else. When we arrived to the camp and I was liberated, it was on the days of the Death March. So my group was already totally out. We were finished, we couldn't do anything. But the night before, the camp that we came, Salzwedel, it was a work camp. So the inmates in the camp looked fairly good because they were working. And they were working for something for the war effort, but also they were, I never know, Zekla.
Oh, beets.
Beets. It's one of the days that I try to forget. They were beets then. So they had the sugar from the beets, you know, they were doing something. So they were better than us. We, nothing. We were skeletons, we couldn't even. So the night before we were liberated, we knew something is happening because it was very early, very, very quiet in the camp. And some of the SS came and they wanted to exchange clothing with us because they wanted to escape. And they, okay, we knew that this is, something is happening. And it was very, very quiet the night. And in the morning we heard rumbling and tanks were coming in. But we didn't know German, we didn't know, we were afraid that they are coming back and what will happen now. By the way, later on, we heard rumors, and that, not rumors, and that, but it's written somewhere, that they wanted to take us not far from Hanover and dump us in the sea and kill us. That I heard later on. Obviously they didn't tell us what to do then, but we heard it later on. But anyway, so Americans came, and everybody was jumping up, but we, my group, we were sitting, like I remember, like sitting next to the board. We couldn't even get up, we had no strength whatsoever. And they were Americans, and they say, here we are, we liberated you, and so forth, and they were giving care packages. Now, I don't know if you know, many people died because they were eating too much, okay? They just couldn't. Now, there's a very interesting postscript to this story. I go to the Holocaust Museum, Heritage Museum here in Manhattan, and one day, I go and go for a symposium, I speak there, and one day there was a symposium about soldiers that liberated the camp. And I was sitting like this in the first row, and this soldier, old gentleman, came with the daughter. And he started to speak. And he said, I liberated Salzgitter. And I said, would you please repeat? And he said, Salzgitter. I said, "Oh." Now this is again, I met the soldier that liberated my camp, you know. And we became friends with the daughter. She invited me, she just died recently. As a matter of fact, I told you to give me the email and you can get the link and you can see there is a film where I the soldier and I am interviewed and another lady. You have to be at the right time, at the right place. It excludes Auschwitz.
Where did they take you after you were liberated?
Okay, after, you see, when we were liberated by the Americans. And we had choices, either stay there and then the Russians will come, or we can go out from there and they will take us somewhere. So we couldn't go fast enough. Okay. And they took us somewhere not far. We went to also a camp that was for soldiers. But we had different beds, it was better, and they gave us food and some clothing. And we had to wait there it was a transit camp, because it was not easy to get back, you know, to where we came from. So we waited there to get back.
And did you ever go back to
Yes,
your home?
I did. Yes, I
Did you
did.
ever?
Yes, I did. I tell you why. Because I was hoping that my father survived. When I tell you, like somebody before asked me, are there things that remind me constantly? Like the Twin Towers, okay, when the Twin Towers fell, I couldn't go there because the smell, the fire, the burning, I couldn't go there. But I tell you something also. After the Twin Towers, people posted and called, have you seen this one, that one, that one? That's what we did. There were places everywhere. Have you seen this one, look this one, that, you know, trying to find somebody that survived. Some people found that. Okay, I did. I knew that my mother and sister was killed, that I knew. I was hoping my father would survive.
And were you with your middle sister? Or?
Yes, my middle sister survived. She is in Brooklyn, yes.
And when did you come over to America?
In the 50s, because I was still waiting for my father.
How long did you look for your father?
How long?
Yeah.
4 years. I was waiting.
4 years.
Because I tell you, many people were taken to Russia. You know, even today you see, like sometimes mean that they liberated, because in Russia, I have a friend that was taken to Russia, and it took many years that they came out from there. Because it was another camp, it was no picnic being in Russia. They made you work, you know, and heavy work. Yes.
Your name, Ava Braun, right?
Yes, I know that,
Okay.
yes.
I know you.
Yeah.
When did you find out that was the same name?
Oh, I found
And
out.
how
I
did
found
that
out.
affect
Yeah,
you?
sure, right after. But I have to tell you something. When I'm speaking, I'm using my maiden name, Lux. Because if you Google, you will find Eva Braun and you know who she is, right? And so I am using, when you Google, you can, Eva Lux, that's my maiden name. And there are two reasons. First of all, I don't want to be associated, obviously. But it's my husband's name, so, and I'm very happy.